All right, I think Felton just gave me the green light. Let's get started. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm John Stobie, CEO of JSCM Group. Want to welcome you today to this webinar on protecting government devices and networks. Just so the audience is clear, I'm going to be camera off. Just the WebEx workflow is a little easier for that. So if you wanted to leave yours off, that's totally up to you. We're going to have a time towards the end of this for some question and answer, which we'll do via the WebEx. There's actually like a Slido app that's down in the bottom. I think it's probably in the bottom right hand corner for most of you. You'll see kind of three squares and a plus sign. That's where you'll be able to enter a chat question if you'd like to go ahead and do that there. But let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I want to welcome you today to this webinar. JSCM Group is proud to be able to host this today, and we look forward to bringing you helpful information regarding a new law in the state of North Carolina that's going to affect all government agencies. Our company's been helping secure customers' devices and networks for over 20 years, and we're really happy to be here today to consult with you, advise you on the latest state requirements, as well as the steps you can start thinking about taking to ensure your network's health and your compliance to the state law. We've got three goals that we've outlined for today's webinar. First thing we really want to do today is educate you on the statute itself. It's got a complex and long name like most state statutes do. This is North Carolina Statute Section 7143-805. We're going to cover what that statute entails, what it means for you. The second goal we have today is to provide you with a bit of a case study. We're going to tell you a story about what one of your peers, the City of Kannapolis, is doing to ensure their compliance to the statute. And in the process of complying to the statute, we're going to demonstrate what they're doing to improve their overall network strategy and how they're gaining security, reliability, and convenience. And then lastly, our third goal is to help educate you on what you and your team can do to ensure compliance to that statute with your own network. This is as you can imagine, a date-sensitive law goes into effect on October 1st, and we'll cover what that means. But we wanted to at least be able to provide you some options and what you might be able to do to improve your overall network strategy and find compliance to the state statute. A little bit later in the presentation today, I'm going to introduce you to two of my colleagues that are joining me that you'll also be hearing from. Today, we've got Jeremy Wagner, JSCM Senior Red Team Engineer with us. He is going to walk you through more of the technical side and the solution that we've worked with. And then Adam Slater, who's our Regional Sales Director for the state of North Carolina, is joining us as well, and you'll be hearing from them a little bit later. Once we cover the material today and accomplish the three goals that we outlined, we've reserved some time at the end for questions and answers. And like I mentioned before, you'll find that function down on your bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx, so you can enter a question there via Slido. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started. First things first, let's cover the actual statute. I would encourage all of you to dig into this statute itself on your own. You can easily find it via a simple Google search, and I'm sure you'll be able to locate it through some of your state-provided materials. But we at least wanted to be able to break it down for you here so we can talk about what it means. As you can imagine, state statutes are very lengthy, they're very wordy, they're obviously put together by brilliant legal minds, and there's a lot to unpack. But we wanted to at least get to kind of the meat and potatoes of what's inside the statute first. So effective October 1st, the statute, section 7143-805, is going to go into effect that will prohibit local governments, state agencies, and all three branches from allowing any adult content to be viewed on any network or device. The law also establishes a very clear deadline for government employees and officials to do three things. Number one, you're going to be asked to delete any adult content from all the government devices associated with your agency. Number two, you need to be able to respond to the reporting requirements for unauthorized viewings or attempted viewings of adult content. And number three, you need to be able to adopt policies governing the use of your networks and any associated devices. So that's a lot. more than likely the first two questions you're asking is, oh my gosh, what am I going to have to do and who has to comply? Let's answer the second question first. Who must comply? Well, essentially everyone. All public agencies must comply. The statute is very widespread. It's kind of all encompassing. This includes any state agency and office associated with any of the councils of state, boards, departments, divisions, constituent institutions, the entire University of North Carolina university system, all community colleges, any other units of government associated with the executive branch, the legislative branch. It includes all local governments as well, and all units of those local governments, public authorities, public school units, etc. To put it bluntly, pretty much everyone. So we would, again, encourage you to familiarize yourself with the statute. In our follow-up documentation from this webinar, we will send you some information that can point you towards the specifics within the statute. But again, we wanted to cover at a high level exactly who it's affecting and what that means. The second question that you're probably asking yourselves is, okay, what do I have to do? Well, the statute requires every public agency to adopt a policy that governs the use of its network, as well as the use of any devices that are owned or leased or maintained or even controlled by that public agency. And that has to be in place no later than January 1st. So they are giving you a bit of a grace period there. The law goes into effect on October, but the reporting and the compliance will start to be measured on January 1st of 2025. So all of these policies must delineate the disciplinary actions that will be taken in response to a policy violation. Now, the law does not, however, speak to what those disciplinary actions have to be, or what otherwise might be required in like particular terms. But again, those usage policies, you're going to want to review those as best you can. Now, many of you probably already have policies in place regarding the use of your networks and its devices. You probably already have, you might have even blocked some things that are existing. Those policies, even if you have them or not, they will need to be updated by January 1st to reflect these new prohibitions on allowing adult content to be viewed. And any exceptions to those prohibitions or disciplinary actions for those potential violations need to be in place by January 1st, because there are going to be reporting requirements on every agency to prove and demonstrate that they are in fact secure. So I just threw a whole lot of information at you about the policy, about the statute itself. So I think what we should do now is take a pause on the statute and let's actually take a look at the statute itself from a different vantage point. You are probably asking yourself, what can I do right now to make sure that my network is secure? What do I need to do to be able to comply with the requirements of the statute? Because remember, this is encompassing everything: cellular phones, desktops, laptops, any other electronic piece of equipment that's able to connect to a network has to be included in this statute. Well, one of the best ways we think to do that is actually to share a story with you. We're going to take a snapshot look at what the City of Kannapolis is doing. Our friends at the City of Kannapolis have been a customer of ours for a long time. We really value their partnership. They're great to work with. They were in the process of starting to evaluate their changing network needs when this statute went into effect. Kannapolis might sound familiar to some of you. They may be a little larger than you. They may be a little smaller than you. Regardless, it's important to consider where they're coming from and what problems they were having. They're currently managing over 10 locations that they're responsible for. They've got a wide variety of locations as well, not only just their physical office buildings, but fire stations, parts, etc. They've got over 500 users, and about 75% of their workforce has at least the ability to be remote or hybrid at any given time. So as you can imagine, when you think about the requirements of a statute like this, the main problem is a lack of control in that remote workforce. What can you do to make sure that you're compliant and that you've checked the boxes, if you will? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the solution that we found for them. Whoops, excuse me, I went the wrong way. Kannapolis wanted to find a better way to meet their changing networking needs. And in order to do so, they were thinking ahead. They were very forward thinking, and they were very open to suggestion, and they were great in conversation. So in addition to wanting to ensure compliance to this new law, they were looking for a solution that provided software level firewalls at the endpoint, that also provided DNS filtering for endpoints and locations. They wanted to be able to create a safe search environment. They needed a solution that was tamper-proof, meaning it couldn't be turned off by remote users, kind of like a traditional VPN can sometimes be toggled on or off by a remote user. And they also needed an effective reporting structure that provides both the protection and the management required to be in compliance with the statute. After consulting with our team and a number of conversations and reevaluating all of their networking needs and goals, Kannapolis selected a product or a solution called SASE. It stands for Secure Access Service Edge. This solution was chosen not only because it fulfills the state requirements of the statute we're talking about today, but also because it provides everything they were looking for in one connected and controlled plane over their entire network. With SASE, the exact same security protections and connectivity that exist for the in-office environment are now going to exist for the remote and hybrid workforce. And in Kannapolis's case, that's 75% of their entire workforce. SASE is a wonderful solution that not only meets the needs and the requirements of this statute, but also is helping Kannapolis find increased capacity around security, reliability, and convenience. Complete network connectivity with zero trust level security. So I'm going to pause here in the presentation. I'm actually going to stop sharing, and I'm going to hand it over now to my colleague, Jeremy, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about what SASE actually is, and he's actually going to do a demo of what the solution looks like. So Jeremy, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, John. So my name is Jeremy Wagner. I've been with JSCM Group for over 7 years, the last 5 of which have been in the capacity of a penetration tester as well as a security engineer. I'm responsible for creating platforms or solutions to meet a variety of different needs that clients have. So today we're going to talk about the solution that we have derived for City of Kannapolis to both meet the needs of this legislation as well as many other needs that Kannapolis had. Our SASE solution is a CloudFlare backed solution. It has a zero trust approach, which gives you the ability to granularly control your policies from a single pane of management for basically all aspects. That's important. It makes it a lot easier to manage and gives you a lot of control over your policies. So the 5 things I really want to key in on are the 5 things that were mentioned as respect to what Kannapolis wanted to achieve in response to this legislation. The first of being the software level firewall at your endpoints. With our SASE solution, we have the ability to manage any kind of endpoint or nearly any kind of endpoint that an organization might have. The agent that is installed on the endpoints has agents for all platforms such as Mac OS, iOS, Android, and of course Windows. So that gives you a broad reaching spectrum of control. All of these agents are controlled by unified policies that are derived from the Cloud GUI. We're going to take a look here at our firewall policies, and we'll see that we have both DNS and HTTP based policies. It is important that you are controlling this traffic, not just at one level, because there are many different elements that can either bypass DNS or bypass HTTP policies. So you want to have as robust of a solution as possible. When we take a look at these policies, we'll see exactly how easy they are to interpret and to set up. So for our HTTP policy, we see that we're basing it on content categories. We have adult content as our category selector. And we have this identity field. The identity field allows us to get even more granular with control over who these policies apply to. Because this legislation gives exemptions to elements such as the police force who might need to look at questionable content in the process of doing an investigation, you might have uh, similar users that need to be exempt from these policies. Well, the policies are identity driven, so that gives you the ability to apply the policies only to certain organizations, groups of users, or devices that meet the needs of those exemptions. For this example, we have our police department, and we have that the user group is not in the police department, meaning that any user who's not in the police department will have these policies applied to them, whereas if a user is in the police department, um, they would be able to bypass this policy. So down here on our actions, it's a simple action. We're blocking that traffic, and we have a custom block page, which we will see here in just a few minutes. So back to our policies. Again, we have DNS. Those are going to look pretty much exactly the same as our HTTP. It's just applying to DNS traffic as well as the HTTP policy, but pretty much the exact same things it's looking for. So DNS filtering is great because it adds the ability to cover other elements of your networks that might not be covered um, by endpoint installations. And what I mean by that is um, you are responsible as an organization or as one of these covered entities of legislation. You're required to prohibit this information from being browsed from networks that you manage. So the way that that legislation's worded is that, even if it's a person who brings in their personal cell phone or personal computer and hooks up to a managed network of your organization, that type of traffic needs to be controlled as well. Well, on those types of devices, you can't install your agent because it's not a device that you manage. So you could prevent them from accessing your corporate network, but that could also be, a little bit overbearing. So what you can do is you can actually use these DNS policies that you have created, and you can apply them to different locations. So what this does is it will take all traffic that originates from a certain location, say City Hall, and it will route that DNS traffic and apply those DNS policies through our SASE solution, meaning that our policies that are blocking adult content here are going to be applied to every device that's originating from the City Hall. That's another key element that gives you that widespread ability to control the traffic without necessarily needing to control each individual device. The last thing that we see here within DNS is a safe search enforcement. Um, as we all know, search engines crawl everything. They grab and cache images, content from a number of different sources, including sources that contain adult-themed content. Well, lucky for us, these search engines also have the ability to do safe search to make the results, more friendly to work environments. Safe searches can be enforced via DNS policies, and that's exactly what this policy has done here. Again, we are triggering on content categories. This time we're primarily just looking for search engines, anything that has any traffic uh, that involves a search engine, it's going to trigger on these policies. And our action here is safe search. What that's going to do is enforce that safe search to the level that the end user will not be able to circumvent it in any way because it's being dictated by the DNS calls that the user is making. Thus, they can't really circumvent that because as a organization, you have complete control over those DNS policies. All right, so now we want to take a look from a policy standpoint. That's what you would expect from for a systems admin or whatever. That's all that you're really looking at managing. From an end user standpoint, you want to make sure that this solution isn't overbearing, that it isn't overly complicated, and that it's foolproof, meaning that users can't turn it off or bypass it or anything of that nature. How these policies work is a lightweight agent that's installed on endpoints known as a warp client. And we can see my actual computer here is connected to this same environment that we've been looking at the policies for. We can see I'm connected, I'm protected. The good thing is it's tamper proof. Like I cannot select this and turn it off. I cannot right click it and like close it in any way. It's just there and it's always connected. If we take a look, the only thing that a end user will have to do is authenticate once to whatever tenant that you have. I just created a dummy account called North Carolina City. I'm connected to it, and from there on out, it's just good. Like I'll restart or anything like that, and I'm always connected. So that's very good on the tamper-proof protection. When a end user is browsing the internet and they are trying to, go to maybe they accidentally or intentionally went to a site that would be protected, they will be issued a understandable warning page. You can customize these warning pages to say whatever you would like. I created a temporary warning page just to illustrate this. And that's what an end user will see. So it's not just a random, hey, this page can't be accessed. They understand why it can't be accessed, and you can give any kind of information you would like based off of that. Going to the safe search, the safe search controls. If a user is, say, in Google, they're searching for something that might have, adult-related content. Adult content would definitely have such. You can see here, safe search filtering is on. There's no way to turn that off, so we are protected at a DNS level from there. That the same would go for pretty much any search engine. So you're pretty much covered on every front of your device's activity to the internet. The last thing that this legislation covers is the need for reporting. I believe the legislation states that once a year you will need to report any activity that that was attempted or possibly allowed to reach out to adult content related material. And this solution provides a lot of reporting capabilities. If we look under our logs and our gateway here, we can see all of our traffic is listed here within. This is our DNS queries. We can see the user that's associated with that traffic. And furthermore, what we can do is we can factor down our traffic to different policies. So you're needing to report on which users were trying to access adult content but were blocked. You can go to adult content, your blocked adult content, and attempt to look at those. I don't have anything in this time frame, but and you can go back, days, months, you name it. You can go back and see, hey, we have some actions that are blocked because of this policy. So you take those logs, you generate a report and format it to the necessary format for the state legislation, submit it to the appropriate people, and you're covered. So that's just a simple overview on how this solution can effectively monitor and control the compliancy for this legislation. SASE is actually a very powerful platform. It can do much more than this. What I will do now is I will turn it over to Adam, and uh, he can tell you how you guys can get in touch with us to figure out more about the product and how you can protect yourself.
Thank you, Jeremy. Really appreciate that. Um, as Jeremy said, my name is Adam Slater. I'm the Regional Sales Director here in North Carolina. So my job has been to assist our clients in getting them in touch with the right people at JSCM Group, get those conversations going about how to tackle issues like this. Here on this slide, you'll actually see a very high level overview of what this process looks like. This is sort of like what we did with City of Kannapolis, but again, it's very, very, very high level. We dove down deep into each of these 6 different categories and built out a game plan step by step for everything that we were going to do for them and their organization. This is something that we can help you all with. If you're interested, you can get a consultation with me and anyone else and the right people over here at the JSCM Group team. My phone number is on the screen, as well as an email address where you can reach not just me, but the rest of the sales team as well. And of course, if you just want to go to jscmgroup.com and read more about what we do just in general, not just in regards to SASE, but also how we would fit into your greater cybersecurity platform. Of course, if you'd rather just see us all in person, we are going to actually be at the Nickel-Chisa Fall Symposium this year up in Asheville, North Carolina. We're going to be up at booth 14. So if you're going to be at Nickel-Chisa or anyone else on your team or any of your peers that you know of and you think that they might get some benefit out of this out of a conversation like this or anything else that we have on offer, please come by. We'd love to chat with you. Me and like I said, several other members of the sales team are going to be there, help answer questions and point you guys in the right direction for any needs that you may have. Before I pass it over to John for questions, I just wanted to give a special thank you to the fine folks over at City of Kannapolis. As John mentioned, we've been working with them for many years. They've been a great partner of ours, and we really appreciate their trust in us and actually allowing us to use their name and their situation as a blueprint for what we've built out here today in this webinar for you guys.
So again, thank you all very much, and I will pass it over to John.
Great. Thanks, Adam. All right, folks. Well, that was a lot of content. We put a lot of, hopefully a lot of information on your plate, and now we got to figure out how we can consume it and digest it. So again, to review, we were looking to accomplish 3 goals today: to educate you on the statute itself, what it entails and what it means for you. Shared the case study and the story of the City of Kannapolis, the selections that they made, and the solution they chose to ensure that they're not only compliant to that statute, but as well as steps they can take to improve their overall network strategy, gaining security and reliability and convenience along the way. And then number 3, lastly, we want to at least introduce you to the idea of some of the steps you can start taking. The roadmap's pretty simple, and Adam talked about it specifically. It all begins with a consultation, hopefully with a trusted partner like us, and we can walk you through what options you might have to improve your overall network strategy. So we want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We're actually going to pivot now to a question and answer period. As I mentioned before, you should be able to submit a question via the Slido chat, which is a little feature down in the bottom, I think right-hand corner, like I mentioned before. And maybe while people are either entering their questions, I'll just take this moment to say thanks again for joining us today. We hope you found this valuable. It is a pretty daunting statute that the state has put in place, but we are certainly here to help consult with you and discuss with you what your options might be.
Hello, John.
Yeah. Hey, Phil.
Yeah, we do have a question.
Okay.
Uh, an attendee wanted to know how quickly can this be implemented?
Oh, good question. Thinking of timing here, when the October 1st law goes into effect and then January 1st kind of enforcement date. Let's ask Adam and Jeremy around implementation. Anybody want to field that and kind of talk to the customer potentially about what they're looking at?
Yeah, I'll take the first chunk of that if Jeremy, you have anything to add. But it's difficult to give like an exact timeline on something like this, just because every organization is different. The way we would go about implementation is different. The way that the order of things, how in depth we get. However, that being said, I will say that our team moves as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So if your goal is to have something like this implemented, again, before that January 1st deadline, then definitely reach out for a consultation and we can get the conversation going. But it is not a terribly long process, but it is an in-depth one. So the sooner the better if this is something you're trying to get done before that deadline.
Okay, we have another question. So we aren't as big as Kannapolis. Um, do we have to use something this large, or can we use something like a web blocker since we're smaller than City of Kannapolis?
All right, good question. Jeremy, that's maybe more of a kind of a product and solution geared question. Can you fill that one?
Yes. This platform is really size agnostic. You can have my environment that I had set it up in is one computer large, so I doubt you're going to find many organizations smaller than that. When you're considering uh, putting up this type of platform against something like just a web blocker, you're going to start to find a lot of inefficiencies and holes in your security posture with other solutions. A lot of times, a web blocker will only be able to work behind the corporate firewall, or it will only be able to work from endpoints that you have an agent installed on. And a lot of times, they're not capable of installing on things like cell phones or iPads, and they're not capable of doing full band DNS level protection. So those are just some of the holes in your security posture that you need to think about when addressing other products versus this type of solution.
Oops. All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
And the last question, and it's probably one that people wanted to ask earlier, but just didn't. How much does this cost?
Good question. Talk about price. Adam, you want to help field that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of a similar response to the earlier question, is that it depends on the size of the organization. And again, that's really something that we would start exploring once we would have a consultation call. However, I will say that not just with City of Kannapolis, but other clients of ours where we have deployed this solution, we have made other services and products redundant, and so we've been able to reallocate those resources. So while there might be a total dollar amount attached to the project, it starts to balance itself out once you take into account the ability to remove, like I said, those redundant products and services.
All right, great. Thanks, Adam. Felton, any other questions in the queue?
No, that is all.
Okay. All right. Well, looks like we're going to wrap up maybe a little bit early. But if there are questions that occur after we're done here, please feel free to reach out. We want to thank you all again for taking the time to join us today. We encourage you to reach out to us, schedule time with us to go over and discuss the specifics of your network and what you can do to be prepared for this October 1st law to go into effect. As Adam mentioned, we will be at the Nickel Jesus show. And if you want to maybe even wait to schedule time with us there, we would love to do that too. We're here as you need us. So on behalf of all of us here at JSCM Group, thanks again for your time today, for attending. We hope that this was valuable. We hope you found it educational, and we look forward to helping you find the right solution for your network and working with you and partnering with you in the future. Thanks, everyone.